Good morning. It's Friday the 4th of December and it's time for Boris's Best of British Bulletin. In Scots Tory news, the SNP had our party conference last weekend and in her closing address, Nicola Sturgeon pledged to give each NHS and care worker in Scotland a £500 bonus for all their hard work. During her speech, she asked if the UK government could perhaps let them have it tax-free. And who could object to that? Well, our Tory chums objected, having given their corporate donors tax breaks worth an estimated £400 billion during their 10 years in charge. The very thought of cutting our nurses and care workers a little slack really stuck in their craw. First of all, they tried to claim credit for it themselves with this post on their Facebook page, directing us to thank Rishi Sunak for the £500 bonus. Cheeky bastards. But you'll be glad to know that a few of us Indy fans turned that argument on its head. And we haven't been shy in letting English NHS workers know that Rishi is dishing out the cash north of the border only. Scots Tory branch office supervisor Dross MP got a bit of a telling off in the BBC this week. He was asked to comment on the First Minister's coronavirus briefing on Tuesday. And as you can see, he just couldn't help himself.
Well, I'm now joined by the leader of the Scottish Conservatives, Douglas Ross. So, Douglas Ross, how much faith should we put in these mass testing initiatives that we're seeing being rolled out from today?
Well, if I can come to that in a moment, Graham, but I do just have to note that there has been a clear emphasis from the First Minister over the weekend and this afternoon, yet again speaking about independence and her aim to have a second independence referendum as early as...
We do want to talk about the public health issues. So on the testing that has been announced today, do you think that it is value for money? Because a lot of scientists don't believe that that is the case.
Well, I will answer your point, Graham, but I do think a number of people will be watching this thinking they don't, the BBC don't stop.
We're not a political programme. I can't allow you to make political points in the same way that we don't allow the First Minister to make political points during her briefing.
That's good. I'll be watching to make sure the BBC don't allow the First Minister to make political points.
Do you get the sense in Scotland that people are more willing to accept the tough restrictions? In England, for example, a lot of your colleagues on the Conservative backbenches are not particularly happy about restrictions continuing. Did you agree with them?
Well, that sounds like a very political question, and I thought when you wouldn't allow me to speak about the First Minister's obsession with separation, we wouldn't be having political questions.
Yes, Dross MP was more concerned with politics than public health. Who'd have thought it? In UK Tory news, well, let's start on a positive. The UK has secured supplies of COVID vaccines, one of which has been approved, and we expect to start vaccinating next week. No one can deny this is fantastic news. But there's always a but, isn't there? After a long time accusing Nicola Sturgeon of politicising the pandemic, our Tory chums have started to, well, politicise the pandemic. Business Minister Alok Sharma went first and tweeted this astonishing response. The UK was the first country to sign a deal with Pfizer-BioNTech. Now we will be the first to deploy the vaccine. To everyone involved in this breakthrough, thank you. In years to come, we will remember this as the moment, as the day that the UK led humanity's charge against this disease. You can almost hear God Save the Queen playing in the background as the Union Jack flutters majestically in the breeze. But, as helpfully pointed out, Germany developed it, Turkish scientists designed it, Belgium produced it, and the UK bought it. Not content with that crap intervention, Jacob Rees-Mogg and others put out a suspiciously similar tweet, bigging up the UK and its newfound independence. We could only approve this vaccine so quickly because we have left the EU. Last month we changed the regulations so that the vaccine did not need EU approval, which is slower. His colleagues Nadine Dorries and Michael Fabricant, I meant Fabricant, it's that hair that does it, well, they also chimed in. There's only one problem with that. All three of them are fucking lying. Here's what Dr. June Rain, Chief Executive of the MHRA, the UK medicines regulator, had to say. We have been able to authorise the supply of this vaccine using provisions under EU law which still exist until the 1st of January. So our speed or our progress has been totally dependent on the availability of data in our rolling review and the rigorous assessment and independent advice we have received. So I hope this clarifies the point about the European relationship. Oh dear, Jacob and chums. A retraction perhaps? Maybe an apology? I won't hold my breath. We're not finished yet though. Perhaps the most startling intervention came from Gavin Williamson on LBC Radio, who said this about how the UK was able to approve the vaccine for use. His opinion? Because we're a much better country. The Education Secretary was asked by LBC News whether Brexit helped the UK secure the COVID-19 vaccine first, a claim denied by the UK's own medicines regulator, the MHRA. Well, I just reckon we've got the very best people in this country, and we've obviously got the best medical regulators, he said. Much better than the French have, much better than the Belgians have, much better than the Americans have. That doesn't surprise me at all, because we're a much better country than every single one of them, aren't we? The claim was met with disbelief on social media, with former Welsh Education Minister Leighton Andrews tweeting, "Welcome to Ukania." Former Green Party leader Caroline Lucas said, "This from a government minister. It's pathetic. The kind of thing you'd hear in the playground." Maybe that's why he's Education Secretary. Political author Anne Applebaum said, "When I wrote about the superiority complex of English Tories in my book, Twilight of Democracy, some people thought I was exaggerating." Daily Telegraph journalist Michael Deakin said, "Britain's dad is bigger than Belgium's dad and France's dad and America's dad. Britain's dad could easily have America's dad." Well, I'm afraid to tell Mr. Williamson that the only thing Britain is better at than almost every other nation in the world is letting people die from COVID-19 in the first place. In other news, a statue of former Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher is due to be unveiled in her hometown Grantham after a plan to erect it in Parliament Square was rejected. The Conservative-led council are going to foot the £100,000 bill for the erection and unveiling event, but fully expect to recoup the cash in donations. Opponents say that the cost is an insult to local residents who are struggling. The plan has stirred up a hornet's nest on social media, with 2,000 people pledging to attend an egg-throwing event planned to coincide with the unveiling. The statue is due to be mounted on a 10-foot-high plinth to prevent vandalism. Incidentally, an 11-foot ladder costs $79.99 from B&Q. A group of MPs have warned of the risk of serious disruption and delay at channel crossings when the Brexit transition period ends on the 31st of December. The Commons Public Accounts Committee said the government was taking limited responsibility for national readiness ahead of the looming deadline. Yes, the actual government, who are supposed to be responsible for this stuff, are only taking limited responsibility. The chair of the committee, Meg Hillier MP, added, "Pretending that things you don't want to happen are not going to happen is not a recipe for government. It's a recipe for disaster. A year after the oven-ready deal, we have more of a cold turkey, and businesses and consumers do not know what to be prepared for. But don't worry, folks. We only rely on European imports for silly things like imports of fresh food, medicine, COVID vaccines. You know, all that unnecessary stuff I can do without. And finally, at some stage in 2022, we'll be holding a Festival of Brexit, costing some £120 million, while children will likely still be going hungry and people will still be sleeping rough. Chief Creative Officer Martin Green is looking for big ideas that can heal divisions surrounding the UK's departure from the EU and showcase British creativity around the world. Here's an idea of what that festival may look like. Holy shit. Can all this really just be 1 week? Well, yes it is. Sadly, this is becoming normal now. But it is 1 week. Just one painfully normal week in Tory Britain. Which leaves me with one question. Are you yes yet? DaviePHD.